Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Harry Potter series, book 1 by J.K. Rowling. The Boy Who Lived. Mr. and Mrs. Dursley of number 4 Privet Drive. I'm proud to say that they were perfectly normal. Thank you very much. They were the last people you'd expect to be involved in anything strange and mysterious, because they just didn't hold with such nonsense. Mr. Dursley was the director of a firm called Grunnens, which made drills. He was a big, beefy man, hardly any neck, although he did have a very large mustache. Mrs. Dursley was thin and blonde and had nearly twice the usual amount of substantial neck, which usually came in very useful as she spent so much of her time craning over garden fences, spraying and spying on the neighbors. The Dursleys had a small son called Dudley, and in their opinion there was no finer boy anywhere. The Dursleys had everything they wanted. They also had a secret, and their greatest fear was that somebody would discover it. Now, they didn't think they could bear it if anyone found out the Potters, Mrs. Potter was Mrs. Dursley's sister, but they hadn't met for several years. In fact, Mrs. Dursley pretended she didn't have a sister, because her sister and her good-for-nothing husband were as un-Dursleyish as it was possible to be. Dursley shuddered to think what the neighbors would say if the Potters arrived in the street. Dursleys knew that the Potters had a small son too, but they never even seen him. The boy was another good reason for keeping the Potters away. They didn't want Dudley mixing with a child like that. Let's skip ahead to some magic shit. Norbert the Norwegian Ridgeback. Quirrell, however, must have been braver than they'd thought. In the weeks that followed, he did seem to be getting paler and thinner, but it didn't look as though he'd cracked yet. Every time they passed the third-floor corridor, Harry, Ron, and Hermione would press their ears to the door to check that Fluffy was still growling inside. Snape was sweeping about in his usual bad temper, which surely meant that the stone was still safe. Whenever Harry passed Quirrell these days, he gave him an encouraging sort of smile, and Ron had started telling people off for laughing at Quirrell's stutter. Hermione, however, had more on her mind than the Sorcerer's Stone. She had started drawing up study schedules and color-coding all her notes. Harry and